it all came to me when I was in Zimbabwe. I was seeing all of this come together, and I was like, crap, we are actually going down this train track. We're on the tracks, and it's just a matter of time before we get there. It's about how quickly we get there. The EFF, if you guys aren't familiar, you might have seen that political party in South Africa with all the red flags jumping on the stage to a pretty fun beat, and they're saying, death to the Boers, death to the Boers. That's like saying death to their farmers. That's exactly what they're saying. And I when I was there, you guys know I have a little bit of a knack of predicting election results with scary accuracy. When I was there in December, January, I actually did predict the election result they had a month or so ago in South Africa. I said it's going to be Mandela's party in coalition with this EFF party. That's exactly what happened. This EFF party are like the Greens party, except they are radical, not on climate change, on the color of your skin, the thing you can't change. It's just like, unless you're Michael Jackson, it's like, it's shocking. It's absolutely shocking. And when I see this particular thing going down, you know, we talk about protesting over a 5% Aboriginal representation in organisations, or even a 50-50 men-women split. Over there, on boards, there is a whole industry in South Africa where at least 50% of the board has to be black. At least 50%. 50%. Like we're getting upset about 5% here. That is where it's going, and we will lose this. We will lose this if we don't actually put our foot down and do the right thing.
Thank you. You articulated that a lot better than I did. That's what I was trying to say.
Look, I appreciate there's a lot of trauma involved.
Well, and that's part of the reason why I was first out there with the Voice campaign saying to people, no, do not vote this in, because us segregating one part of the society from everyone else, making them believe that, you know, for whatever reason they need to be treated differently, that is not healthy. That is not how you integrate society and get people to get along. That's actually doing the opposite.
Absolutely.
And I think it's you know, one of the best parts of Australian society, and what Australia actually is, that really exists nowhere else in the world, is it's a classless society. You know, and it was developed, you know, you're talking in the trenches in Gallipoli and Europe in the war, you know, all the suffering that they went through, all class prejudices were eliminated, and there was no class. Everyone was the same. And to this day, you can be any race in the world. You can be a billionaire, you can be living in Department of Housing on welfare. It doesn't matter what you are, where you're from, what walk of life. You can sit down together at a pub in this country and drink beer together, and there's no prejudice towards one another. There's nowhere else in the world you can actually go and realistically do that. I've been all over the world, and this is one of the only places where we truly have a classless society, and it is one of the reasons why we are a success, why we punch above our weight in nearly everything we do. We excel as Australians, and that is the reason why. Classless society. What Anthony Albanese tried to do with The Voice was create a class-based society. Bill Shorten lost in 2019 because he tried to play class politics. And that is exactly why Albanese is going to lose the next election. It's because he tried to do the same thing. And this is what the Labor Party do whenever they get in, because they've been so heavily influenced by the Greens, and the Green element of their party is to push this concept of class warfare, class-based politics, us versus them. And it's an absolute disgrace, and it's never going to work in Australia. And the reason it's never going to work is because you can be the poorest child in this country, born into poverty, and you can work your way up to being the leader of this country and run the entire nation. The door is open for you if you work hard. So this is why it's so different. But if you look at, there's a theory of the new generation, like the Greens being Marxists, they're doing exactly that, attacking the housing policy, pushing, you can't afford house, vote Greens, you know. But what they don't understand is all these minority groups and people they prop up to help them get over the line. As soon as if they were in power, those people are culled, they're gone. And we see that time and time again with communism. Like when the Bolsheviks took over, Lenin used to have nude marches. He used to march with nudists down the street. As soon as he takes power, outlaws it, and anyone in the nudist groups gone straight away. So he also pushed the LGBTQ. He pushed them to help him. As soon as he's in, bans it. Bans and persecutes LGBTQ people. And that's the kind of thing people forget. That's what these radical people do. They're using you as a vessel to get themselves over the line into power and use any avenue or way that they can to do so, and they look for the downtrodden group. But as I said, with the being able to work your way through, work your way up in society now, they can't do what they did in Russia, appeal to the working class poor, They can't do that. So now it's like Leninism. So now they've gone to Leninism 2.0, also known as biological Leninism. They look for the most downtrodden people in our society and they try and elevate them, prop them up to use them. But it's never going to work. And this is what they don't understand, because when you went to the farm and there's a big bloke who's lifted big, heavy things on the farm his whole life, and you, hey, mate, would you like to have a bit more power? All you do is come with us and we tell you to go shoot and that, we'll give you some power. He goes, yeah, sure, sweet. And he's actually capable. But then you look at the biological Leninism stuff, those people are not going to be capable of running gulags and taking over the country. So really this is destined to fail. That's what this whole new Marxist sort of movement is.
Yeah, I think you've touched on something really important there. Australia is a bundle of phenomenal people from different countries that have fled horrifying stories, whether that's the south of Africa or Eastern Europe or the Middle East. Stephen, I'm about to move on. Did you have anything to add?
I was just going to say, to piggyback off Ben's point, Australians, like Americans, we are aspirational people. Our instinct when we see people who have more than us or who, say, are in a higher middle class than us is not to hate them. It is to want to have what they have one day and to work to get it. And that is what sort of Labor ideologues don't understand. Their instinct, and they're taught this by their sort of Marxist ideology, is to hate those who have more. But the average Australian is not an ideological fanatic. Their instinct is aspirational, not ideological. And so what's the Australian response to someone making more than you? Well, you get out there and over time you do the same thing. And that's what's made this country so successful.